Is it just me, or has time moved extremely fast the last few years? It's almost 2026. It felt like we were just in 2020. It felt like we just saw the news that Kobe Bryant passed away. And now we're all the way in 2025, about to go into 2026. I don't get that, man.
Bro, time is starting to fly a little bit too fast, bro. It's literally about to be 2026 in 2 months. They weren't lying when they said that time starts to fly, especially when you get a little older, bro, because it was just summer. I remember school just ended and it was just summer. Now we're getting ready for Christmas, bro. Halloween's already done. Like, this shit is going by way too fast. Enjoy the time you have at the age that you're at, bro, because we're really, like, we'll be 50 in no time, looking back at our teenage and early 20s, like, damn, I wish I could. So let's just do a little better job at enjoying this shit, even though it's a hard time period, bro, because time is going by like that right now.
I keep seeing a lot of posts saying, I don't see anyone saying 2026 is going to be their year. And personally, I believe it's because this year is flying by so fast. The year's not even giving us time to make 2026 our year. Thanksgiving is in 2 weeks, y'all. Like, I can't believe Halloween already passed. Christmas is next month. It'll be here before we even know it. So with that being said, 2026 is basically tomorrow. So nobody's prepared for it.
It's come to this, and I am fucking furious, only because of my history. I was born in Germany as a German. I know the history of Germany better than anyone in the United States. I lived it, not personally, but my mother did. So I had firsthand reports. My mother had a number tattooed on her arm. She never had it removed because she never wanted to forget. That's where her parents were unalived. That's where her baby sister was unalived. It was a concentration camp, and now in Utah we have one. Still have alligator Alcatraz. When are you guys going to realize this for what it is? Don't think it's going to stop with the homeless. That's what pisses me off. Oh, it doesn't affect me. It's the homeless. They're going to start putting everybody who disagrees with them in a place like that. Forced labor camps. You're going to be treated like shit. You're going to be forced to work, or you're going to be unalived. They'll call it an accident, trust me. Everybody who is involved in this shit, every one of you assholes who are guarding these places, just remember what happened in Nuremberg, because you are not exempt from the law as much as you think you are. He might be saying it. Everybody else may be saying, hey, don't worry about it. We got you covered. Something happens, even if you're put in jail, we're going to pardon your ass. That's this administration. People don't forget the way you treated them. Ever. My mother never forgot, and she made damn sure that she reminded us of how bad it could be. She got her family to the United States by marrying an American serviceman for the better life. Oh, she'd be rolling, or she is rolling in her grave right now at what's going on in this country. That she sacrificed so much so her kids could survive and live a good life in this wonderful free country she'd heard about. And now look what you've turned it into. You've turned it right back in to Nazi Germany. I hope you're proud of yourself. And you kids who never really studied history, you need to fucking really study history and see how horrible this truly is. Because we can't tell you because you don't want to believe us. Search some historical documents, kids. It's important. Because you're not exempt from this as much as you think you are.
When the market crashes, these 7 stocks will lead the decline. And because they're such a large percentage of the index, the crash will be faster and more severe than anything we've seen. Insider selling has reached levels that historically precede major market declines. Corporate executives have access to information that ordinary investors don't. They see the real earnings, the real pipeline, the real problems before anyone else. When they start selling massive amounts of their own company's stock, it's a signal that they don't believe current prices are sustainable. Jeff Bezos sold over $13 billion worth of Amazon stock through 2024 and 2025. Mark Zuckerberg has been selling billions worth of Meta stock. NVIDIA executives, even as the stock was hitting new highs, were selling shares. This is what happened in 1929 and again in 2000. Insiders know when valuations are insane and they get out before the crash. Warren Buffett, the most successful investor in history, is hoarding cash at levels he's never maintained before. Berkshire Hathaway's cash position exceeds $325 billion, the highest in the company's history both in absolute terms and as a percentage of assets. Buffett has been selling stocks, including reducing his massive Apple position and buying treasury bills. When asked why, he cited valuations being too high and being unable to find attractive investments. Buffett's own metric, the Buffett indicator, which divides total stock market value by GDP, sits at 185%. He said that a reading above 120% indicates dangerous overvaluation. At 185%, the signal couldn't be clearer. The world's best investor is sitting in cash, waiting for the crash because he knows it's coming. The local restaurant, the small retail shop, the family-owned service business, these will fail by the hundreds of thousands. Large corporations with access to capital markets will survive, though smaller. The economy that emerges from the crash will be even more dominated by massive corporations, with small businesses playing a diminished role. This reduces competition, innovation, and economic dynamism. Social safety nets will be strained beyond capacity as unemployment surges and tax revenues collapse. The government will be caught between increasing demands for services and decreasing ability to fund those services. Spending cuts will be necessary, even as more people need help. This creates a humanitarian crisis on top of the economic crisis, as vulnerable populations, the elderly, disabled, and unemployed, face reduced support at the moment they need it most. Political instability follows economic collapse. The 1930s saw the rise of extremist movements across Europe as economic desperation made people vulnerable to authoritarian promises. Weimar Germany's hyperinflation helped create the conditions that brought Hitler to power. The United States isn't immune to the political consequences of economic catastrophe. When people lose everything, they look for someone to blame and someone who promises radical solutions. The 2025 crash will reshape American politics in ways we can't predict, but that will likely be destabilizing. So why is 2025 worse than 1929 and 2008 combined? Because we have the asset bubbles of 1929 in stocks, the debt bubbles of 2008 in housing and credit, and the government debt bubble that didn't exist in either previous crisis. All three are happening simultaneously. In 1929, only stocks crashed and only 10% of Americans were affected directly. In 2008, housing crashed, but the government could borrow to bail out banks and the Fed could print money without causing inflation. In 2025, everything is crashing together and the tools to fix it don't work anymore. The Fed can't cut rates to zero because inflation is still elevated. They can't print unlimited money because they just did that and caused the worst inflation in 40 years. The government can't bail everyone out because it's already drowning in $36 trillion of debt. The 12 warning signs I've shown you, from the inverted yield curve to Warren Buffett hoarding cash, aren't speculation. They're facts. They're happening right now. The inverted yield curve that has predicted every recession since 1950 is telling us the recession is imminent within the next 3 to 9 months. Regional banks are failing. Commercial real estate is collapsing. Consumer debt is at record highs with delinquencies rising. Unemployment is rising. Insider selling is at levels that precede crashes. Every indicator is flashing red simultaneously. The timeline is clear. Based on the yield curve normalizing in September 2024, recession typically comes 3 to 12 months later. That puts us in the window of December 2025 through September 2026. Commercial mortgage refinancing peaks in 2025 and 2026. Credit card defaults are accelerating now. The trigger could come at any moment, and once it starts, the cascade will be unstoppable. This isn't prediction. This is pattern recognition. The same patterns that preceded 1929 and 2008 are present now, only more extreme. When the crash comes, stocks will drop 65 to 80% from peak. Worse than 1929's 89% drop, because it will be faster and more concentrated. Bonds will drop 35 to 50%, something that didn't happen in previous crashes. Real estate will drop 40 to 60%, worse than 2008's decline. Unemployment will exceed 15%. And recovery will take not 5 years like 2008, but 10 to 20 years or more, because the Fed has no tools left and the government has no borrowing capacity left.
They're increasing the reenlistment age to 62 years old, and they're offering $75,000 to $100,000 bonus to be paid out for someone that has to go through a to retrain you, kind of like a mini boot camp for the Gen X, the baby boomers, to when you get out of school to refresh your memory for your job. And you get to keep your rank that you came out. Now, if you have a degree, my understanding, like, I have a master's degree and I have 2 bachelors that I earned, okay, from my GI Bill and some of it when I was in the Army. I could go in the Army as a captain with my experience and pick a branch that I would want, and that would be considered a Mustang, right? Because I was prior enlisted as an NCO, non-commissioned officer, right? That's crazy. That means something's going to go down, and we're preparing for it. And they're calling these Gen X. We were talking about this. It's a good chance they're going to have the Gen X's babysit the new soldiers. They always have to pull out the red card. I'm stressed out. I'm hurting. And us old folks will end up be driving Humvees and their trucks. And we're going to be having small squads and carrying, maybe 8 to 30 people with us to keep track of them, because they're not street smart. They're not there yet. They don't know what to expect in a combat zone, or they don't know how to read the enemy and what's going on out there in the field. And this goes from Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Coast Guard, search and seizures. We're dropping bombs on drug cartel coming across the ocean, and they're going to declare war on us. Man, hold on to your fucking sheets, man. I'm telling you, it's going to go down. So, can you believe they're going to increase the age to 62? Now, remember, when the Air Force, you could enter the Air Force at the age of 27, past age 27. Because I remember my wife tried to, and I tried to back in the day, and they says, no, you're too old. Right? Now it's 42. Something's happening, folks. Be ready for this shit.
23 to 25% of 17 to 24-year-olds meet the basic eligibility. So, of the people that are service age eligible, so what they're looking to recruit, 17 to 24, that's roughly 33 million Americans. So, education is going to wipe out 10 to 12% of young adults. Arrest records will probably knock out somewhere around 10%. Health and fitness is the largest disqualifier, which is crazy. Over 70% of youth fail to meet the physical medical standards without a waiver. That includes things like obesity, asthma, mental health diagnosis, and drug use. Only 23 to 25% of 17 to 24-year-olds meet the basic eligibility. So think about that. For all of those Americans, so we had 33 million Americans who are of the age that they're looking for. Of that, only about 25% meet the eligibility, so roughly 1 in 4. Even with all that, only 9%. So when you break that down, you're roughly looking at, say, 700,000-ish that meet the qualifications and want to serve. That is very tiny. So when you think about the fact there's only about 750,000 people that want to serve. And out of that, only 8 million are probably eligible to serve. That is scary.